Well, the hunt for classic cars has brought a guy all the way to Connecticut this time for this beautiful 1955 Chevrolet Belair two-door hardtop, but this just isn't any 55 Chevy or any Tri-5 for that matter. This is rare, extremely rare. Some say the Holy Grail. It has almost been redacted from history because this is a wholly Mexican-made 55 Chevy Belair, and I believe we have the proof in this car. We're going to find that out here in a little bit. On top of that, it's not my car, it's Brian's. Brian won the Day with Derek contest a while back, so I'm here in Connecticut to see if I can get this thing running and driving for him after being parked in a garage for 37 years. Seems fine. No, it's a lot of work actually. We better get started. Well, some of you might be wondering, who's the Day with Derek, or where do I buy that? What's the part number? Well, it's not really a thing. Well, it's a thing, but it's not a thing. It's a contest the guy did a while back where the grand prize was a guy would just come out and help you get your rig running, and Brian was the winner. So to start this off, I think we should rewind back in time here and go back to when Jessica and I drew Brian's name, and then you get to learn a little bit more about the contest as well. This one?
Yep, I had to, sorry, I had to go on my tippy toes.
Okay. $2,000 in-store credit from O'Reilly Auto. That means use it all now, use it a little bit at a time, use it for whatever you want on whatever vehicles, plus up to $3,000 cash getting that rig running. That's out of our pocket for you. And we'll also donate $1,000 to your charity of choice. Goes to Brian. You are the grand prize winner. Congratulations. Now, should we try to see if we can call this guy?
Yeah, we can call him up and see where he's at.
Brian, I wonder what Garth Brooks is doing. Anyway, it's Derek over at Vice Grip Garage. You won, but I'm not even going to tell you what place until you call me back. All right. Talk to you soon, bud. Bye. Okay, so now that you know about Day with Derek, we've got $3,000 out of my pocket, basically $2,000 in O'Reilly gift cards or store credit, and then we're going to do $1,000 towards a charity of Brian's choice. We had a brief discussion earlier about what he wants to do with that money, and it is phenomenal. You got to stick around for that. We're going to try to figure out how to get this family that money. More on that a little bit later. So we'll keep tabs at the end of this and see how we did budget-wise, okay? So we're at Lou's garage. He's a friend of Brian's, and Brian had this tucked away in a garage at his parents' house. It was tight. It was low lit. It was just a standard, older garage. Really hard to work in the car. So he said, well, buddy Lou's got a lift and tools and doodads and whatnots and things. So that's where we're at. So also thanks to Lou for jumping in and helping us work on this car. So I think we just got to start by walking around this thing, drink it up, see what we're in for. I want to see the Mexican tag on this thing. It should say MX, and confirm that it's an actual Belair, figure out the engine transmission combination, probably get it on the lift, and we got to come up with a game plan really quick. I want to maximize how much work I can do on this thing. It's not going to be a lot of shine and spit polish. My goal is just to get this thing running and hopefully moving under its own power, and Brian can take it from there hopefully and turn this thing into a gem, or I don't know, maybe we'll end up with a thing. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how Brian's going to feel about that. He bought this car when he was 19 years old, stuck it in a garage, and it never left. That's crazy. It happens. That's life. So anyway, let's walk around. I'm already seeing a bunch of goodies. We got a Rush vinyl album. We got some Bad Wizard stuff. I don't know. Let's take a look. Okay, one of the very first things I want to show you is this, and it's very unique, and it's highly unlikely you're ever going to see this again, which is the tag right down here on the pillar. Now we all know 55, 56, 57 Chevrolets were built all over the United States. There was multiple plants. They were very popular. They were sent out for kits. They were wholly built. They had engine plants and assembly centers. Some were built in Canada, which are really rare. Some were built in Venezuela, which you rarely see documented. And then there were a few hundred made in Mexico. And according to only a handful of people, they actually exist. And I researched my pants off on this, and I've called the utmost Tri-5 experts that I can find, friends, people in the hot rod community, the Tri-5 community. And it's like, yeah, I've heard of them. Here's some things. Yes, I saw this. I maybe saw that once. But there's no literature. There's nothing definitive that you can find in a book that says, here's why they exist, here's exactly where they were built, so on and so forth. And we have about 3 or 4 experts in the US that will back this up and support it. And then we've got the trim tag or the VIN tag, which shows us the MX, which is the wholly Mexican-made 55 Belair. And I'm going to show you one right now. And that's what makes this car extremely special. They used engines that they could get. It might not necessarily match the vehicle. It might be, I've even heard rumors, called a straight 6 car, but it ended up with a V8. The V8 might not be numbers matching. The color patterns never matched the US patterns. They just painted them whatever was in the gun that day. They used a lot of Pontiac colors, not traditional Chevy colors. These are all the things that I've found through hours and hours and hours and 6-packs of time. They're very unique. It is what it is. Here you go. So check this out. This might be the only one you ever see. So entering the driver's door here, we're going to come over here and take a look. And here's the tag, just completely sliced open my pair of pants. So here we're going to see C55, which means Bel Air. There's the MX, which is made in Mexico. And we believe this means the 155th made in Mexico. And you can tell by these rivets, it's never been played with. That is original. It stayed with the car, and we're also seeing remnants of the original color up in here. So as I come back around the rear of the 55 here, we got dual pipe relators, and we got a V8. I know that because Brian told me. We'll investigate that a little bit further here in a minute. But I came back here for the plate, which I'll show you. It says May of 1987. So this car went from Mexico directly to Arizona, which makes sense, and then was sold into Connecticut directly, never replated. Brian bought it from that guy when he was 19 years old, stuck it in his parents' garage, and walked away. Never touched it since. So this is going to be challenging, but a lot of fun and super satisfying. Now some of you may be wondering, well, why did it take so long for this Day with Derek thing to happen? Well, listen, Brian has a very good job. He's extremely busy, and obviously I travel 48 to 51.75 weeks of the year as well, and our calendars just never jived, and you know, that's just the way life goes. But I'm super happy to be here. Brian's a really awesome, down-to-earth guy. Couldn't have happened to anybody better, and he's been great. So I'm happy this is happening for him. He's a little camera shy, so you may not see him, but I'm going to relay as much information as I can to you about the vehicle and how he acquired it. So let's continue walking around this thing. So we'll start up front here and kind of work around the rig. Pretty typical bumper. You know, this stuff peels off, gets moisture in it, things like that. We're in Connecticut. There's a lot of humidity and moisture out here. It's really not that bad though. The grill is in excellent shape. Nothing wrong there. We've got the turn signals, the glasses here for the headlights. It doesn't have the typical rust over the brows, but this has been painted a couple times, so I'm not sure if it's been repaired before. If we get time, we can maybe look at that a little bit more. This car was originally coral and gray, which is like a salmon, pinkish and gray. Beautiful color combination. and at some point it was obviously repainted. So as far as exterior rust, not a lot. We can see there's probably going to be a little bit in the bottom fenders, bottom rockers, both sides. Floors have some rot in them. I'll get this up in the air here a little bit later. But this is a solid driver candidate. Nothing's rotted out over here. We've got the Belair badging. All the stainless is here. Someone's taken the time to repaint the centers here. That looks like acrylic or a single stage basically. And I was looking at all of these marks, trying to find the original colors, and I'm not seeing it on the white. So someone has really, I don't know if they took it all the way to metal or what they did, but here you can see this turquoise or seafoam. It's all over the weather stripping, stuff like that. It was a pretty quick spray at some point back in the day. No big dents anywhere on this car. It's just been beautifully protected. Deck lid looks solid. The gaps, could use a little bit of work. Looks like it's hitting up here. Pretty typical. Same with 55 to 57 Buicks. They always hit right here. The hinge systems weren't really that sophisticated nor great on these cars. Same issue with the rear bumper. We can maybe clean that up again if we have time. I'm really focusing on the mechanical aspect of this car more than anything because I've got a limited amount of time and I want Brian to be able to enjoy this thing if possible. We've got some bare metal. I should have brought some shine juice, protected this for him. It's starting to flash rust, but it's not bad. Drip rails look good. Not bad at all. The door gap, it's kind of up on the lift right now. This will relax, but once we bring it up on the lift, it starts to spread. So we're gonna have to look at the frame, see if there's any integrity issues there. And this is just all to give Brian a heads up. You know, here's where your vehicle's at. Here's some things that might need to be addressed and whatnot. I'm not here to pick this thing apart. It's a beautiful, beautiful car. The interior is really nice. It was redone at some point, I'm assuming when the last repaint was done. It's all been redone. And it kind of smells like a Ferris wheel gearbox and a cigarette box full of mice. It's got a pretty unique smell. But the interior still, even with the smell, is beautiful. It's cruise worthy. It's drive it to work worthy. It's very nice. Headliner, I never even looked. Oh, look at the headliner. Wow. That's pretty cool. This is Brian's high school pin, 87, hanging off of there. You got the big old single fuzzy dice. Someone converted it to a Muncie 4-speed at some point. It should have had a 3-speed on the column here. My intuition here was this was a 6-cylinder 3-speed car and was changed over to a V8 4-speed at some point. But that's kind of an overview of the exterior of the car. Really nice looking. Really nice looking car. I think in 55, Buick, Pontiac, Olds, Cadillac, Chevy, they all did just an incredible job. Every make did an incredible job styling wise. This would have been another Bill design. He did Corvettes and Camaros and Buick Riviera and things of that nature. This is kind of his brainchild. Beautiful, beautiful car. So let's jump under the hood and see what we got going on in there. See what we got here. Yep, there it is. Boom! Springs are a little tired. What's this thing? I don't know, this might work. Sure. There we go. Some sort of weird baton shock tower. Anywho's, we're digging in here. We got V8-age. Fuel making happeners in here, charging whirler, single pot of death on the brake system. Looks like 2 pairs of socks jammed through the firewall. We're on points. We got a Megatron! Batteries. Wow, I don't even think I've ever seen one of those. Radiator's beat in. Looks like it just went through a hailstorm. That seems fine. Of course, a mechanical fan. I don't know. I'll get you. Get in here and look. Come over here too. So here's what we're working with. We got V8-age stuff and things. The old Megatron says 60. That thing is ancient. Early 70s is when the side post battery came out, so that's pretty interesting. I've worked on this before. We've got 2 positive cables crimped together that go to the engine ground. So wrong and wrong equals right. I like that. Looking pretty good. We've got an old filter here. Arrows to the carb. Oh, it's an old AC. So again, that's pre-74-ish. So we've got a couple indicators, early mid-70s there. As far as the hose goes, no idea what that is. Come over here, we've got a charging whirler instead of a generator. So this has the old Adapteroni 200 on it, and that spins us up to this guy. That makes the voltages that shoots over to the lightning cube. You know, they work in a partnership of some sorts there. We've got kind of the Corvette script-ish, I think people call them, valve covers. We believe this is probably a 265. We'll find out if I can get the casting number off of here. Under the air filtration system, ooh, a 2-jet Rochester. That is the definition of horsepower. Nope, economy, maybe, and a lot of bop. Let's see if it actually moves. Oh, it's not locked up. Oh, take that back. We've got some sort of linkage issue. We'll deal with that later. We got points ignition still, so we got a lightning can shooting into the points condenser. I'm sure that's not going to work. That's fine. We've got some garments stashed through the firewall next to the single pot of death brake system. We've got crudely painted wiring, some sort of, you know, cheapest fittings you could find. So I mean, somehow I have already refreshed this at some juncture. Based on the oil filter on this, we can assume it definitely is a 55, 56-ish, 57-ish engine. We'll just have to figure out what exactly it is. This has just been, I don't know if that's from working on it, leaning on it. A lot of people like to rest their forearms and elbows and cave that in. It might hold juice, probably not. Looks like we might have a leak over there. But nonetheless, I think we've got all the ingredients to try to get this thing to fire. I'm also seeing a starter way down in there. You need them, so as I'm told. I'm kind of excited to get the sparkulators out of here and see if those are AC as well. And here's the trim tag and all the information there that back up the coral color, which is this right here. It was a beautiful combination. If it actually was the coral and gray combination, it would have been really, really nice. Here we're seeing some more of that coral up here on the hood as well. There's another nick of coral. So we've got a really great base here. The inside of the rig here, gotta be careful. Try to get a closer look. What are these gauges? Monnet 200. You ever heard of those? I don't know. Steering column is just all sorts of out of whack. By the way, we've got suspension issues thanks to our tow truck driver, unfortunately. Sounds like he might have snapped some items up front. It was flatbedded from Brian's house to Lou's here, and I think we've incurred some damage, unfortunately. It shows 21,983.0, which is most likely 121, I would imagine, especially if it's been repainted and whatnot. Other than the smell and missing visors, the interior is actually very delicious. We've got a Hurst 4-speed, which isn't really 4-speeding. There we go. I just don't think the linkage has been moved in 58,000 years. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 4 3 2 3 2 1 4 3 2 1 4 1 4 3 2 2 2 2 1 4 3 2. That seems to be fixed. Oh, we got some flippy doodabby switches. I don't know if that turns the 8-track on or what's going on. Also a very, very cool sky glass logo on the front windshield, which is Henkel and Mexico, made in Mexico glass. Very cool. Overall, solid rig. Maybe we should lift it up, take a look under the bottom of the top, look underneath of it. I think that's what I was going for. And make sure it's got, you know, a drive shaft and a rear end and plausibility of actually going down the road. A little bit different when it's not me. It's going to be Brian. So let's try to, I'm not saying be safe. I'm just saying, can we be more safer than I am, typically. Okay, I got a crash course on this lift. Spark 2 wires together, click your heels twice, jingle this paper clip, that's flipped on. Okay. It's got a little lean to her, but don't worry about that. All right? It's gonna be fine. That wheel's locked up. Seems fine. Nope. Complete brake job. Super. There's 12 days. Okay, next. Yeah, it is dual exhaust. True duals, I should say. Kind of just guessed, but oh, settle down. There we go. That's the don't die mechanism. I'm not used to 2-post assistance. Okay. There we go. Should be really stable. Okay, let's go for a walk. So we've got this really cool old school exhaust cutout. Check this thing out. A little flapper. You drill a hole, clamp it in, and then there would have been a cable. It's frozen. That comes through here and pulls this back and forth. If you want to get rowdy and really show off that 265, you know what I mean? This is not normal. So unfortunately, the tow operator threw the hook around right here and drug it on, and it just completely snapped the tie rod. So that's an issue we're going to have to address if I somehow get this running and we have brakes and everything is working. We think we might be able to drive it. We're going to need that tie rod. Crazy brake line runnage. Maybe replace. Oh boy. Okay, we're moving on. Back here, oh, wow. Okay. And oh, yep, of course. Oh, just lay that on the exhaust. Got it. And then, yeah, bring it in. Okay, bring it into there. All right. So, what do they say? Dorexis? Well, the actual tire name is BF Goodrich's Lifesaver. Excellent. I don't know, they're really old. We're gonna have to swap the tires out, obviously, at some juncture here. The gas tank, is that Bondo? No. Yes. Can't be. I guess it is because I'm looking at it. They have bondoed and trailer roof patch tarred the fuel tank. I don't think I have one of those. I did bring some parts. I don't. Sounds solid. Probably just full of 3 inches of rust. It had shocks 59 years ago. It's pretty good. These brake lines might hang in there. They don't look totally rotten, but getting the nut to spin over the tube is always the hard part. Axle seal is shot. 1,000,000% positive on that. Don't know if I'm gonna have time to address that either, but if we can get her to wing around the block a few times, that'd be great. And the car is pretty decent. It needs a floor patch here. It needs inner and outer rockers. There's a slight hole here and there in the rocker. But overall, Brian's got a really nice car. Actually very jealous. This is a very sought after car, beautifully designed, nice cruiser. Underside, pretty good. Oh, look at that. They just capped off the crossover on the exhaust. You don't need all of it. We don't need to bring it over here. We'll just make a new one. Okay. And I don't think this gives us any indication on V8 or V6. We can see blue paint, but then we see orange. Blue, orange. Oh, this is different. Okay. I'm gonna try to get some codes off of this. If I get a date, a shift, and numbers, we could figure out exactly what that V8 is, hopefully. Front suspension wise, bushings, not good. Ball joints, terrible. Brake lines need replaced. Oh, now it's, that one barely rotates. That one is not cooperating. A little fussy. Look at this. There's just a split. And that unfortunately just happens. Stuff sits this long, things deteriorate. So obviously there's a tremendous amount of work to do here, but I'm just gonna focus on the basics and try to give Brian some momentum or a leg up here. So when I leave, he feels like, hey, I can finish this, or I can really make this into a good project. I hope that I could be running and driving and going down the road, but I've got 2.25 days left to throw at this thing, and I'm just gonna do the best that I can. Now, with the budget, I went ahead and pre-ordered a bunch of stuff, brake parts and hoses and doodads, some ignition things. With Brian's permission, I used one of his gift cards, ran to O'Reilly's this morning, and got things like fluids and whatnots and fuel and a Lone Wolf 6000 and just the basic things that I use on revivals typically, so we could throw them at this thing. So let's just get this back down on its paws again and just see if we can get this thing to bark off, make some noise, idle, and then we can start working through it. I mean, we don't know if the transmission works, the clutch. We don't know the status of the rear end, the fuel tank. Obviously, it needs pretty severe suspension work. I think we've got that ordered with the help of Lou. Maybe that'll show up today or tomorrow. But we're just gonna have to just bite off what we can and just do things. That was, okay, sorry about that. Let's get started. How do I get this down? Where's the levers? Over here? So one of the first 12 things the guy needs to do here, boy, he's got them organized up on the, I need to figure out organization. Anyway, we got to figure out if this engine even rotates. It's been sitting a very, very long time, albeit, and thankfully, in a enclosed garage on concrete, which saved a lot of this particular vehicle. But we got to see if this thing rotates. Does this extend? Oh, it does. Oh, Pete dipped. Wow. Reminds me of like a yakachats. I don't know what they're called, stick thing. Anyway, we're gonna grab this by the cooling fan blades, blades, some of you might say, and 4 waffles if you're from Canada, and try to just twist on this. Let's see if the engine rotates. I should make sure it's in neutral first, that would be fair. 1 second. Okay. We don't want to get a false positive on the old neutralis test. Oh, rotates with ease. Still rotating, rotating, rotating. No issues. So that's great, great news. I'm gonna set this to the side. I try to get 360 degrees when a guy can, or more than that, whatever double is, 720, 7, 9, 8, 6. I don't know, twice it. Rotationals, just to make sure there's no valve train binding up, anything like that. Things are moving and doing engine stuff. This one seems loosey-goosey. I don't think we're going to have any issue there. Now, what I think we should do is get the Megatrons. Lightning cube out of here and put in a new one. I've got something made specifically for this vehicle. A lot of you might already know what that is. And then we can try the ignition, which rotates without a key. Typical 55 to 58 BLPC. And make sure the ignition works, the wiring, the starter, all of that stuff. I want this thing turning over quickly by key or by a Lumwa 6000, which we might go ahead and install, so that we can be in here working on ignition and fuel and not be going back and forth 1,000 times with questionable operation. Okay, let me get some equipment. I'm back. Here I am. This Megatron has a really good 80s vibe with the font on it. I'll see if I can look closer at the date once I get it off here. Well, for heaven's sakes, 14 different bolt sizes on these 2 bolts. Okay, that's off. Normally I'd chuck this into the next county, but you know, we're in a nice shop here, so can't do that. It's fine. So if you've got a 55 Chevrolet made in Mexico, you have to go with a Superstart. Extreme. I don't know. It's got a go handle, and it's the one that I found that the positive was on the left side with the side post. Okay. And no, it wasn't originally a side post, but that's what we've got, and I'm too lazy to change any of this, so we're just keeping it the same flavor. Okay? Okay. Is this a different size? Is that the whole issue? Well, by golly, I think it is. All right. So, I need a longer bolt. Ooh, bolt bin over here. Well, here's where we're at. I just fully and cleanly knocked myself out on that overhang wall thing over there. But I think it's fine. I was only out for like 5 minutes or something. But I got a bolt, a washer, and a nut. I'm gonna have to keep a tab for Lou here. Make sure we square up with him. You know what I mean? And what I'm gonna do is tighten the bolt and then come in and tighten the nut on the bolt after I spend 48 minutes finding that wrench. Bam! Tight. Installed. Okay, the lightning cube is in here. We got her fastened up. I'm gonna leave that ratchet there and forget about it. Let's go ahead and check the dinosaur juice before we try to crank this thing over. Just make sure it's got something in it. Oh! Oh, wow. That's oil. That is. Woo! Woo! That's like 30 weight. Old school stuff. But no gasoline. I don't taste antifreeze or coolant. So it hasn't been, you know, sitting with any contaminants in the crankcase. It hasn't been attempted to be started or anything like that that I could tell, because usually when that happens and it doesn't run, all the fuel just ends up in the crankcase. What's going on in here anyway? Hello? That's empty. Okay, so let's try the key that doesn't exist first, and then we'll maybe hook up a lone wolf after that. Kind of got this post in the way. I apologize about that. I'm gonna work myself in here a little bit. Should be a neutral. Try the ignition. There it goes. I love that. Almost 4 decades. I was like, whatever. Let's do this thing. Oil light comes on. Fuel gauge says empty. Of course, temperature gauge says empty. Interestingly enough, the speedometer is in mile per hour and not kilometers. That's kind of weird. Let's try that again. I can hear 1 or 2 cylinders that aren't quite as happy as the rest, but no, I just pulled the headlight stick. It's really slow, but I think one comes on. Off. When I turn the dimmer, it comes on. Let's check it out. Wow, this old thing might want to come back around after all. See what we got back here. Oh, we got a right tail lip and a left. All be dipped. Headlights, taillights. No wiring, nothing. That's pretty cool. Well, we've got a good starter. We've got good ignition. Things seem to be coming back around. The lights are even coming back on. This is like the Chevrolet version of Christine. Where is it? I think that was the shark movie theme. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's coming back around. We're going to try to go after sparkles now. And I need to be able to turn that over under the hood so I can look at the points and spark and all that. So I got the lone wolf hooked in here because guy always works alone. Exhibit A through Z. So that seems to be functioning properly. Where do we hang that? Right here? I like it until it falls and breaks. So let's go ahead and, as if I see the future. Let's pull the number 2 here. I think that, oh wow, they are like crisp. Louisiana chicken. Anyway, let's go ahead and pull a lightning staff out, or a sparkulator, if you're in Europe, and take a look at this thing and see what it's reading. Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. There we go, sure. What do we got? Whoo! She's fouled like a drop kick in the NHL. Really rich. Again, a very old AC. That's our third clue that this was probably tuned up, maintenance, maybe even sprayed, rebuilt, mid-70s. Solid facts coming together on this rig. That's really cool. This should sparkleize enough for a test anyway. So I'm gonna put this back in, and I'm never see that again. Great. I'm gonna put this back in, and then we'll put the sparkleizer tester 500 in between. And it's got a little lightning doodad dipper that beeps at us if it's got spark, which we know it's not gonna have because the points have been sitting 37 years or whatever. And they're gonna be corroded, and we're gonna have to clean them. Now I did order some points, and according to my wristwatch I don't have, they should be in by now. I think the truck has arrived. I might swing down there and grab those, but let's just test arbitrarily quickly, and then we'll make a decision. So we've got our blinky doodabber in line here, coming off the line. You know, it goes up to the lightning whirler, so the lighting hose plugged in. And this bulb should flash if we have sparkles. So we're gonna watch that closely. Nothing. As figured, when points sit for a very long time, they build up a residue on them, and the contactiness isn't contacted in them anymore. So first step, guy's gonna take his Leatherman, points filer, get in there and root around. I've used this so many times, I have actually sulfur built up on this. And see if we can bring the old set back around. If we can, undoubtedly, it's a better unit than what we can get today. Probably figuring mid-70s based on everything else. So let me pop the cap off, we'll take a look. See if we can bring this set around. I did run out and get another set. We'll throw them in the glove box. We don't need them. Wow, for Pete's sake, you got the, I think the oil pressure standoff is in the way. There we go. Yeah, the cap doesn't look that bad. I'm being honest. Ouch. Rotor button should rotate. Sure. I hit the wiper motor and about took the whole firewall of the car out. Look at that. Interesting. Problem for another day. Now, I'm going to bump this to where the points are right on the cam. Rock this back and forth. And yet again, I can confirm no sparkles. The reason I like to put them on the cam is so this opens just a little bit right here. And I can just gently slide this in. You don't want to be too aggressive on these. You can actually tear the pads right off. But we're just going to file this back and forth. Also, make sure the ignition is off at this particular juncture, unless you want to get a little bit of a zip, you know what I mean? Or unhook it from the ignition can over here. These also look like they've been replaced at some point. See the newer blue plastic, it's got a nice red felt, isn't oil soaked, full of stuff. So I think this whole car might have been tuned up right before she was sold or parked. Or in the 70s, hard to say. Okay, let me turn the ignition source back on, and then what we're gonna do is rock it like that. And we should see a spark, or at least hear it. Nothing. See that? So that point set is probably shot, but we're gonna test the ignition coil first. Make sure the old lightning can has some lightning left to give. You know, because that's shooting over to this thing that does that, and then, you know, fire. And so if we can cross that off the list, we know for sure it's going to be the points potentially the condenser, most likely the points, and then we'll swap them out. You guys have seen me do this 100 kajillion times, but basically just taking the old digital meter, beep, bop, boop, bop, I'm a computer. You know, there's a lot of things on here. I don't know what none of this does, except the horseshoe mode and the lightning with the highway sign. You know, that's your battery. So we're gonna flip her over to horseshoe mode, and then from one post to the other post, and from the center lightning shooter to the one post, and we're gonna read those numbers. And it should be 1.5 to 3 on one, winding, and then the other one should be 12 to 15. Depends on how good or tight the windings are in there, and if it's not shorted out and all that science things. But let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, we're gonna go across these bad boys. Oh, I gotta put my meter where I can see it. Okay, we got 3. Pull this off. I can jump back and forth. Wow, 4.2. Okay, spin this up to 20,000, because now we're going to go in the can. 7.2. That's pretty weak. 7.1. 7. That's a lot weaker than I would like to see. Let me make sure I'm getting good voltage to the coil. That would be key as well. Got the ignition back on, and now we're gonna check, how much juice is coming into the thing. I don't know. 12.3. That's a lot. It really is. So that can't be the issue. Kind of just digging through some of this cobbled up wiring. This coil might in fact be weak. I'm going to unhook the distributor from the coil. I want to isolate it completely. I got the one side off already, but let's just double check. Come here now, tell me where it hurts. What's going on? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong side of the dial. I had her up in the V925MA greater than alligator sign land. Yeah, 7.1, 7.2. We might have a weak coil for the first time in a long time. Well, I've been in here just filing and filing on the points. You can see all the crud on the end of this here. And I think I'm in a pretty good position to test these again. Again, we might not see the spark, but we should hear it at minimum. Oh yeah. I could see it and I could hear it. Let's get less light in here for you guys. So although the ignition coil is weak, it's probably going to produce an okay spark. And again, it varies. That's probably the lowest I've seen in a while, but I've seen them all over the map, all the way up to 20. Brand, make, year, all that stuff. Let's give it a shot. I'll put this back together and see if we can get lightning coming down the lightning hose. And if we do, we're very close to seeing if this thing will make some noise. Pretty excited to hear this thing run. Also, benefit of checking all this stuff, we should have created ample oil pressure by now, rotating this thing a bunch. So when it does fire, being confident, we know that it has oil pressure right away. Okay, let's watch this light bulb again. Here we go. Yep. Okay, we now have spark. That's great news. So based on the fact our gasoline tank has Bondo on the outside covered in road tar, I'm gonna guess the contents of the inside of the tank are not very savory, to say the least. So I think the guy's gonna go ahead and actually disconnect the fuel tank from the fuel pump. So when we're sitting here trying to make this thing run, if it gets some gusto, we're not pulling a bunch of varnish and junk from the tank. Into the fuel make it happener, which we are probably undoubtedly going to have to rebuild here in a few minutes anyway. So let's get that taken off. So the quick way is just going to be disconnecting it right here. We've got 2 different hose clamps and a chunk of very old, boy, that is just brittle, fuel line. We'll take that off, and then that's going to prevent us from pulling anything from the tank into the pump or up through into the fuel make it happener there. Okay. Let's see if I think I'm gonna have to just cut this fuel line. I doubt it's gonna slip over anything. Yeah. I want to show you this hose clamp though, if I can not lose that. It's really neat. It's like cutting wood. Wow. That's old. Look at this old hose clamp. The head of it is flush with the body. That's been around a minute. So we need to prime this thing, or I'm going to try to fill the carburetor bowl up a little bit. So if it does fire, we have the potential for it to sit here and idle for a couple seconds so we can really hear if it's going to be knocking like a Jehovah's Witness, or maybe it just runs great. So I'm going to use this True Fuel Assist. It's not false, okay? It's ethanol free. It's got a little 2-stroke oil in it. It's good for engines compared to, you know, don't brake clean and carb clean and starter fluid gasoline engines. It's terrible for them, really bad. Just do something like this. And added bonus, the little bit of oil in it's gonna lubricate up the needle and seat, all the internal carburetor parts. You've got little check valve rolly balls in there, things of that nature, all right? And if it doesn't want to start, we're not just washing the rings down. I'm actually doing pretty good. Filling the bowl here. All right. That might be it. Do the squirters work? No. Accelerator pump is gone. Yeah, we're going to have to rebuild this guy. A little down the, yeah, that was way too much. It's pouring right out the side on the bottom. Woo! Okay. He's hot and heavy. Make sure, flip the key on. Boop. Okay. All right, let's see if we can bring this old girl around. 35 to 37 years sitting, hasn't run until right now. Bringing the thunders. Maybe, maybe, come on. Wants to. Did I fly? I didn't flood it, come on. I can't believe it would want more, but maybe. All right, reflooded. Here we go. Haha, it's trying. Okay, let me bottle feed it a scoosh and a tickle whilst cranking. Something doesn't seem right. That's a lot of fuel for a 265. Uh-oh, I've lost my sparkles, I believe. It's back. We got a loose wire. Sparkle's gone again. Back again. This connector might be the culprit. You know what? You're just smoking a lot up here versus back there. I wonder if the exhaust is plugged. Shabam! Drink up, little buddy. Boy, it wants to. Am I getting smoke back there? I don't think so. Boy, that's pretty close. There we go. A little clanky, that's to be expected. The valve train's been taking a nap, you know? That was my fault. There we go. Ha ha! It's alive. It ran for a second or two, or we'll call it 4 seconds, okay? But it runs. Valve train is very clanky. We did not build as much oil pressure as I hoped to, but that's okay. It might take 15, 20 seconds at 2,000 RPM for oil to get from the crank all the way to the top end there. So we've obviously got fuel issues here. We've got no accelerator pump in the old fuel making happener. And that's going to make it pretty difficult getting this thing to fire off, especially cold. You got to find the right, how much extra, too much fuel to dump in to battle the choke not working and no pump. So we might take this 2-jet off, blow it apart, rebuild it really fast, go through it, make sure the idle circuit is looking good. It's probably varnished and gummed up, and then we can come back to it. We've heard it run, the engine spins, it's sputtered. We might have plugged exhaust, I don't know. We got to keep our chin down and our head up. Same time, somehow. So let's rip this old Rochester off. We'll go through it, get it licked together, and we're getting one step closer to having this thing idle. Look at all the stuff here that came out the tailpipes. I mean, it's a real possibility that we've had some Ronits up. And oh, look at this. We got like carpet, Berber carpet and stuff. So the exhaust may very well be plugged in this. And another thing that I noticed was when it was trying to fire, a lot of the exhaust smoke was coming up through here where the exhaust manifold gasket, donut gasket is, or the gasket's here. It was smoking here rather than wanting to eject itself out of the vehicle. And that's telling me it's kind of like lightning. What's the path of least resistance? So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, we're gonna pop this guy off. We got the fuel line, the linkage, 4 bolts, the choke, heat riser, tube dippy has already been snapped off and permanently relocated in a trash can somewhere in Connecticut. And then the spring right here, and that is pretty much it. Also, whilst we were cranking, there's a little bit of moisture here. So did we overfill this? It backfilled? Is the pump trying to work? It's hard to say. We'll have to come back around to this little guy down there too later at some point. This is really neat. We're going to be replacing this, but I'm going to hang on to that or throw it in the glove box for Brian. It's been many, many moons since I've seen an AC fuel filter. That's really cool. Okay, got the old Rochester Bogulator off, also known as a 2-jet. All right, these Fuel Make It Happeners went on everything for all of the time, for all the times. They're pretty good carbs actually, but this one's needing a little bit of work. So I'm gonna spritz down the outside first, give it a pretty good bath, blow this thing apart. Well, the guy's just barely in this and we can already see the issue. It's kind of dirty. Not so much here, but a little over here, maybe. No, that's, looks like hamburger gravy. And a little bit of coffee. Accelerator pump here, this rubber is just rock solid. This should be flared out and soft, and it's not. So when that's pumping in this cylinder, it's acting like a piston essentially and forcing it out, and that's not happening. So we're going to pull the needle and seat out. We got to clean this up, make sure we don't have any holes in the float and that this still does float things. The jet down here, you can see that is completely plugged. It's no chance that's working. So let me just keep digging, see if we can get this fixed up. Well, I had to put the old 2-jet up in the bench vise here, and Lou had to come help me, and we needed supplies. He fired up the air compressor and got me some fire here. The power valve was absolutely just, it was seized in there. We tried everything to get this out. Fire and juice, finally got it. He dug through his box and found another one for me. So this needle right here is supposed to go up and down, and there's a rod that pushes this. This one was just seized down and got destroyed, unfortunately, trying to get it out of there. But we need this for this carburetor to operate correctly, and took advantage of the heat and got the jets out as well, which are absolutely plugged. So we'll be cleaning those out with some needles or paper clips. We got mud going on in here now, and I'm gonna keep it up locked in here. This is handy. Keep tearing this thing down, cleaning, just scraping it out with the screwdriver, spraying in here, doing all that stuff. This one was really, really bad. Well, the guy's got her tore down as far as you can go. This is as far as you can get a 2-jet apart, essentially. A lot cleaner. I've gone through this pretty well. My normal tailgate rebuilds, only a few minutes. I'm putting the time into this one. I want this to work for Brian. We've got a bunch of different parts over here. Got the jets cleaned out. I did discover, and I kind of figured this would happen, if we got in a hurry and just replaced the pump and threw this back together, we still wouldn't have had an accelerator pump, because the pump discharge ball, check ball, was stuck in its passage, which is really, really typical. And this is the little spring here that's going to return it, and the lock I just dropped, and I'll never find that again. That gets pressed down into here. So when you rack the throttle, it pumps, goes through this passage, moves that ball, and that's how you get your fuel shot there. So now I'm going to go ahead and clean all these other little parts, assemble everything with the new parts, get this thing put back together, hopefully a lot faster than the whole cleaning process was. Moses sandals. Well, here we have it, a 100% complete rebuilt Rochester 2-jet. Now, since we don't have the pipe doodabby and whatnots to make the choke work correctly, I went ahead and just locked that out on the linkage here. So the cam is going to be stuck on low idle essentially. And, you know, I doubt this is going to be driven in the winter anyway. Probably not a big deal. I think I'm going to shut it down for the night. And actually, time got away from me. It's getting pretty darn late, and I want to get out of Lou and his wife's hair for the evening. Unfortunately, today was spent mostly just running around gathering parts and whatnots, but that's just part of it. But the great news is we did hear it kind of murmur and sputter, and smoke came out of places. So that's good. It means there's a chance still to get this back on the road. Tomorrow, I'm going to have to dial it up quite a bit. We've still got a tremendous amount of work to do. Try to get this beautiful 55 back on the road, but we'll have to start again tomorrow. See you guys then. Clean up a little bit. Well, good morning. We're back. time to really get thrashing on this thing. Gonna go ahead and get this 2-jet bolted on, and I've decided, since we heard it kind of sort of make noise, we're gonna go ahead and get Brian all set up with an ignition tune-up, sparkulators, lightning hoses, you know, the cap and rotor, all of that business. I might even have a coil. This one's weak, but seems to work. If I have one, I guess I'll throw that in there too. And I have a surprise. I've got a gentleman named Lee coming. Now, Brian doesn't necessarily want to be on camera due to his profession, and I completely understand that. But Lee was the previous owner of this vehicle as well. Actually, Brian bought it from Lee. So Lee's on his way, and we'll get to chat with him a little bit and learn more about the car, when he got it, where he got it, what he thinks about the engine transmission combo, the original colors, things of that nature. And I even got some paperwork from Brian that's really cool. The documents when he bought the car from Lee. So it's just a small world. Glad Lee was able to come out, and he should be here pretty soon. I need to get some work done before then though. Well, that's all bolted back up, installed, should be ready to rock. So we'll go ahead and start digging into the ignition here. I've already unplugged the number 1 lightning hose here. And I do that just so I can reference for myself which one is number 1. So when I rip all this junk off quickly and put the new cap on, I can just look and use whatever reference I want. In this case, where the wire goes in, that's number 1. So then I'll just start there, do my timing order, and away we go. So let's get these old AC plugs out. These old lightning hoses, I don't even know what these are. Suppressor cable patent 10. I don't know, they're pretty crispy. I'm sure they could be replaced. We don't want any lightning leaking. All right, let's dig in. So we have Lee here. Lee, thanks for coming up. Appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thanks for inviting me up.
So I have here, and you just saw this for the first time in years, this is the original paperwork that you guys signed in 1989. He was 19, he said, when he put a deposit of $100 down, and then he was 20 when he paid it off. $3,500.
You know, it was where I had 3 cars. I had this a couple of years. I had 2 others, and just couldn't do 3 cars.
Right.
So it's either sell one or not do anything.
It's the common car guy problem,
yeah.
right? You started
And I
acquiring
just
too
pulled
much.
this out. I had just driven it down the driveway, put it out. I had a for sale sign I picked up at the hardware store, put it on it, and I swear Brian was there in 15, 20 minutes.
He snuffed it out.
Came right in. So, and he, you know, would you take $100 deposit? I'm going to buy it. And
Wow.
that's how it worked. It just worked right out.
Yeah. So it
think
did run. You had it running.
Yes, yeah.
I noticed here it said it's not in condition for operation on the
Yeah,
road.
there were no brakes.
Oh, perfect.
I couldn't get, you know, you could put whatever you want in the master cylinder. It just, it wasn't going to pump up.
Okay, so it's safe to assume it hasn't changed. It still has no brakes, which is great. It's my favorite.
Well, some things don't change over the years.
Yeah. So you know, the fabled story on this here is it's a Mexican-built 55.
Yes.
So we have the Mexican VIN tag. I see a Mexican glass logo on the glass there. Do you have any more info on that? Because what I find is I can find the Canadian built, the Venezuelan built, but
Yeah.
this is like a ghost.
Yeah, it is. And it, you know, I researched it a little bit when I had it. They were apparently made in the U.S. and shipped knocked down. And then Mexico, they would put them together. And
Oh, it's a knockout kit, which
that's
which
what I
Ford
believe
did a
it-
lot of that too.
yeah, GM did with this because they
Yeah.
didn't really have a production in Mexico till a little later on.
Now, was this engine and transmission in it when you got it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's the original 265. You know, no oil filter, got the remote one up on
Yeah.
top. And
Yeah.
it's got I think it's got a Muncie 4-speed in it. with the hearse setup.
Yeah, I believe, you know, the engine may be original, but the transmission must have definitely been swapped at some
Yeah,
point.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, when I run this engine number, I keep coming back with a later model, like a 57, 58 Impala or Corvette 265. So that makes me wonder, was it swapped in? But there's also rumors that the Mexican-built cars, through a couple of my other friends, like Gil at Hot Rod Ranch and a few others, they used whatever engines were sent to them, and they don't necessarily match, you know, numbers matching.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
So did this run pretty good when you had it running?
Yeah, it ran nice.
Okay.
Actually, it ran nice.
Yeah, I'm looking
It just
for
didn't stop.
Okay. That's basically the name of my show. So the interior, was that done when you had the car? When did you buy it, I guess?
I bought the car, I think it was 86, 87.
Okay, so you only had it a few years then.
Yeah, I only had it a couple years.
Did you bring it from Arizona?
I did not. One of my friends from Glastonbury called me up. His brother was going to Yukon, and his roommate had come up from Arizona, whatever, and drove the car. I'm not sure exactly what year that was or whatever.
Okay.
But he'd put it away. It was in storage. The car had to be moved. And I don't remember what I paid for it. I think it was around probably a couple thousand, $2,500. So I went down, I took a look at it, put a battery in it, it started up, everything, no brakes.
Yeah.
So I bought it, I trailered it home. I didn't do anything for a couple of years on it other than move it around the yard because I was trying to get other things done.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometime you come to the reality,
You're
just not going to get it done.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Awesome. Well, any other thing you can remember, or details, or stories you want to tell about this thing, or?
No, other than I wish I never sold it.
I was going to ask, but that's a tough question. Well, if we get it
But,
stopping again, maybe Brian will take you for a tootle around the block. And
Yeah, I would like that. It's been a while.
Well, thank you,
Hard
Lee.
not to like it.
I really, really
Well,
appreciate your
thank you.
time, and it's a lot of fun. Car guys have always been car guys, and it's great to hear the
Yep.
same repetitive stories of, I loved the car, I wanted to work on it. Sometimes you get too many, and you see it these many years later, and you go, boy, I wish I still had it, you know.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to get back to work. We'll probably chew on the fat a little bit more, but I'm halfway
Yep.
through the ignition system. We've got cap, rotor, coil in, got the old sparkulators out, got to snag in some new sparkulators, put the lighting hoses back on, and then we should be ready to try to fire this thing back up again. Okay, we have a rebuilt fuel make it happener. We've got the ignition system pretty much tuned up. Everything is snagged in there. I've got it set back on some expert wire looming here. Nope, just zip ties, that's fine. Should be able to throw something flammable down the app again and try to get this thing idling. And now that we know the carburetor's all cleaned up, I'm just gonna fill the bowl again, and that idle circuit should take off. And with any luck, this thing's gonna sit here and idle for 15 to 20 seconds. And if that's the case, we're gonna call that a huge victory, and then we can move on to things like changing the engine oil. Seeing what's going on with the fuel tank, the old Bondo box back there. Looks like a suitcase covered in plaster, that's fine. Fuel pump, things of that nature. So let me see if I can be as steady as yesterday and prime this thing. Probably not. I'm doing okay-ish. Could be better. And this is just so I don't have to sit here and try to modulate how much fuel I'm putting in by hand. We'll just let this mechanical device do its job. We should have an accelerator pump. I can hear it. That's good. Hit the key. I also lifted it a little bit off the ground in case it goes full Christine on us and wants to take off. All right, hit. Come on, come on. Oh, it's so close. There it goes. Yes! Valve train smells horrible. Just give it some time though. There she goes. It's alive. Oh, that's great. I'm gonna have to dump some coolant in. The water pump sounds terrible. It's dry. Over 3 decades. Let me check the oil pressure. A little less than 40 pounds, that's fine. Checking the exhaust. Left pipe's clear, right pipe's clear. Wow, it's savoring that fuel. It sounds pretty good, I gotta be honest. It sounds pretty darn good. There, she finally ran out of fuel. Well, that is awesome. 35, 37 years, something like that. Parked, sitting here idling like it was shut off yesterday. Gonna put some juice in here. Lubricate that water pump before we tear it up. We're gonna have to do this at some point anyway. Make sure the head gasket's still head gasket, water pump gaskets are still doing their thing. And we're gonna eventually be running this long enough. See if it stays cool. This radiator's in pretty poor shape. I do have another one, but I don't know if we're gonna get there in time, knowing we're gonna be doing all the brakes on this thing. Okay, I got the garage door all the way open this time. Just gonna run it for another, I don't know, handful of seconds. I just want the water pump to get lubed up. And also make sure that with it pumping, we don't have a freeze plug that's rotten or leaking or anything like that, because we gotta start making a list of things that need to be fixed. Oh, I might have turned it off. I can't remember. No, I didn't. But knowing it ran out of fuel after a couple shots. Yeah, see that water pump already sounds way better. Lifters still haven't pumped all the way up, but listen, they could be gummy, stuck. We don't really know. Based on the condition of the oil, I would say they're probably pretty gummy. Which I should try to free those up before we change the oil. Actually, let's do something here. Being it's got 35 to 40 pounds of oil pressure at idle, and they're still clanking like that after running for a couple minutes, we're gonna need to help it along. So I'm gonna fill the carb bowl all the way up again so we can maximize the run time. And what I'm going to do is actually put a cleaner in the crankcase, since we're just idling it, and try to help these sticky lifters unsticks, if you know what I mean. I believe I got a can of Berryman laying around that's going to do just the thing for us. See if I can find it. So we're going to throw some vitamin B12. Normally I go down the yap to clean the sparkulators, combustion chamber, and valves, but this time we're gonna dump this right into the crankcase. But here's the secret. Don't be revving on them, stuff like that. We're just gonna let it idle and let it pump its way through the oil circuit and hopefully clean up these lifters that are having a tough time pumping up, full of varnish, doodad, whatnots, other things that aren't, you know, helping it. Fire again. I did turn the key off. Only gets voltage under cranking. That's how I figured that out. Once you let go of the starter, it shuts off. I'm not used to having keys. Hips. Okay, now we'll let this idle. Put the bearing in the crankcase. Let it do its thing. Making sure the bowl is full. Check the oil pressure. And we got just under 40 still. That's great. Might as well see if it's charging. Cross that off the list. Beep. Let's see. 12.5, 12.7. It is charging, albeit not great. See how it's idling up a little bit? Rings are starting to come around. That's going to be it for fuel. Okay. That's pretty good initial runtime. The other benefit of doing that is we want to get all of that old sludge and stuff from the top end into the pan. Don't be afraid to run old oil for a little bit. Viscosity just doesn't disappear over time. In fact, a lot of the older oils have, in some cases, better viscosity. So now that we've done that, I'm gonna let this cool down. While that's cooling down, let's get this up in the air, check out the fuel tank. There's a drain plug in it. We'll see if we can get that out. It's probably just gonna cough and look like a mummy's sarcophagus, but it's worth a look. And then we'll come back up front. This will be cooled down a little bit. We'll change the oil, and we're gonna keep working towards having this thing sit here running idle on its own fuel source. And then my favorite part, brakes. Nope. Least favorite by far, but that's the way she goes. That's just the way she goes. But it runs. I can't wait for Brian to hear this. He's gonna be really excited. Well, unfortunately, I kind of called it. That water pump was sounding terrible, and we've got a drip out of it right now. So that's probably shot. I'm gonna have to add it to the list of things that need done. I also got a pretty, I wouldn't say bad, but we're already leaking oil. Rear mainish, potentially back valve cover-ish. We're getting a pretty good little puddle here. So we're gonna keep an eye on that. Slip a piece of cardboard in here and we'll forget about it. Okay, great. So moving on down to the fuel tank here. And they were kind enough through the Bondo and tar to leave the drain plug in it. So I'm gonna crack this loose and see what comes out, if anything. See if we can look in there a little bit. I don't want to dump a bunch of fuel in here if it's just going to be rust and rot. It's been played with, obviously, based on the fuel line that's expertly ran down the length of the vehicle here. I just don't know when. Did they take it out to Bondo it? Seems weird. I don't really know what's going to happen there. We might have to run, unfortunately, a temporary fuel system. I failed to order a tank, which I apologize. That's not like me, but it happened. Get the best tool ever invented on here. Size, yes. coming out, or am I just rounding it? I don't know. You tell me. I think it's coming out. Oh yeah. Okay. So, the question is, what happens? It would be nice to see fuel actually, because if it doesn't, we know we're going to be in the same position as the Carburetor, which is some sort of caramel coffee elixir. Scapo! No, it's just a drain pan on a cart. Okay. Just in case, I'm gonna get this splashed in my face. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. All right, that's great. Nope, really isn't. Okay, well, what? I think there's. Okay. All right. It's in my soul. Oh. Okay. Well, this is something's happening. Oh, there seemed to have been a little crust. All right. I guess I'm stuck. Stuck like this now. Seems fine. I haven't done a front deltas maximus exercise in a while. This is some of the most varnished fuel I have smelt in at least 7 days. The bottom was a crust, and I just poked it with that screwdriver, and bam! Well, there it was. Just took 4 years off my life. Yeah, but it's a 55 Chevy, so it was worth it. Okay. Well. Wonder. Can a guy Oh, we got a leak. Where's that coming from? What just happened? We got to change up our system here. This isn't working very good. This is the fuel that's coming out. It looks like vegetable oil. Interesting. So anyway, now we've got the oil tub holding up our makeshift fuel tub, and I'm going to spray cleaner up in there again because it started leaking out the front, and I'm thinking that's where the seal is for the doodabber, you know, stick wire to the, so that wouldn't be good. That means we would probably only get a couple gallons in. So let's try that again. It's leaking right through the tank. It's just seeping right through. That's not good. That is not good at all. See that? Uh-oh. We might have to run a temporary fuel tank, unfortunately. I'm going to try to blow some air through this line and make sure that that pickup tube isn't plugged. And if it is, then it's just another reason to evacuate this whole setup back here. Ouch! There's a tire there. Dropping oil, bay one. All right, Lou's over there helping me with the tie rod. He's got a press, and he pressed out the big kink from the tow truck driver. And I think he's welding a nut on the existing shaft right now, like the old LS head retrieval and removal trick. And then we got to weld up the sleeve. We got new tie rod ends, but the sleeve was too long that we got. But we got some new Moog tie rod ends to try to fix this situation and this situation. So I'm going to drop the oil on this while it's up in the air. I'm abandoning the fuel tank. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, but we'll get something temporary set up for Brian so this thing at least runs. But I got to get a socket. Lou's got a box behind me that's got 150 pounds of bolts that he's extracted and all sorts of things. He's the man for the job. All right, get this dropped. We got an M22 wide ratio 4-speed in this, according to the Gidget-Magoos, which would set that at about mid-summer 1968, coupled up with this 265 here, which is kind of a mystery engine. We don't know. We don't know what the deal is there. I'm glad the exhaust isn't plugged. That was a big win, saved us a bunch of time. Slowly making our way, but I am running out of time. I have a few hours today and tomorrow. I gotta be on a plane to the next revival. All right, both sides of this tie rod removed. While it's up in our teeth, we're gonna go ahead and get this in, and we'll just loosely adjust this thing with a, apparently they make a roll-up stick with numbers on it. It's fairly universal. It's a commonly known thing, apparently, and everyone agrees on the measurements. So we'll use that to set this up, and then Brian's gonna have to take it in for a legit alignment, but then we're gonna call it good under here for now until we come back to brakes. But I really wanna get this thing idling. Just ran to the parts store and got some fuel line, a fuel jug, a clicky-clacky just in case, some hose clamps, some other doodads, whatnots, some rags, so I stopped using all the blues. Let's go over and look at the tie rod situation. I got it over here in the vise. So here's our setup here, new inner and outer tie rods. The sleeve that we got was too long, so we just reused the old one, but we had to weld it here. After we straightened it out, it cracked a little bit, but this is gonna be okay. I'm just working on working the threads down. I'm gonna need this pretty well all the way up to here to get this aligned correctly, I'm thinking. So I'm gonna use a set of running flats on the outside here. Tire tread shouldn't be any different. It's the same exact tire on the same exact wheel. If I use the outside bump here and run it across to outside bump here, I should be able to set this approximately where I want it, which is a 1/8, 16th to an 1/8 in for now. And then when I hold the ends up in here, I can make adjustments. Close enough. Get us down the road. All right, I'm gonna gently seat this in here. Watch that the tire doesn't move. Okay. And just, you know, cut 3 times, measure once, kind of deal here. Uh, 53 and 1/8. Perfect. I'm gonna throw the new nuts on there that came in the tie rod end kits. Bam! Do these have circs? It's gotta be. Yeah, I gotta throw a grease circ in there too. Find a grease gun, and then that'll be licked out, you know? Good, glad we agree. Yeah, yep, Man, I wish I had more time with this car, but it's what both of our schedules allowed. Just trying to make the best of it, you know. We're gonna get there though. I talked to Brian, told him about the fuel tank situation. He said, look man, no big deal. Do what you gotta do, let's make this thing run. So I've got his blessing to throw a fuel tank in the passenger seat and wire in a temporary system and then he can get a tank figured out. I don't know if he's going to do fuel injection, leave it stock. I have no idea. Oh. Oh, okay. So you're telling me you're an 11/16. Yes. Okay. Yep. Sure. Yeah. Yep. Ah, snip. We got castle nuttage going on here. Gotta line these up. Back throat edge. Boy, I need just a horsehair. A little bit more. There we go. Cotter keyage. Let's key it. Boom. Boy, it's been a while since I had a bonanza buffet. You know what I mean? Leather minage. Yep. Stay in her. The old stay in her bend. Don't go anywhere. No unauthorized movement. Bend, braking stuff, perfect. Tie rods, figured out. Alignment, poor at best, but good enough for who it's for. Oh wait, it's not for me. Uh-oh. Good enough for Brian, maybe. Time for the Earls before I forget. Throw it in the front here. Now we're squeezing the budget pretty hard. I probably would have got VR1 or something like that with a ton of zinc in it, but opted for the T4. It's cheap, got all the dinosaurs and vitamins, but we are going to add a zinc supplement just to make sure. Now, when you're doing oil changes, let's listen. Shh. Listen, shut the window. Get in here. There is such a thing as too much zinc. Yeah, I said it. Okay? Yep. Nailed it, of course. Too little, too much. Bad. Just enough. Good. Okay? So, if you're using oil like Valvoline VR1, it's got all the zinc you need. There's no reason to go dump a bunch of junk in it, okay? If you use an oil that doesn't have zinc or has very little zinc, then yeah, get the supplement, but don't waste your money and don't actually do the opposite of your intent and harm yourself. So data sheets are public record. Go out there, Google it, see what kind of material is in your oil. You know what I mean? You might have been using it for years, but do you actually know what's in it? I'm just saying. There we go. And the big boy. Drain plug on this was stripped off at some point, and they welded a nut and a bolt into it to make another drain pluggy thing. I like it. Where do you think Lou keeps his oil funnels? I'm not quite sure. Maybe they're over here by the... No, that's magnets and glasses. Oh, I bet they're back here by the oil change thing. No. I don't see them over there either. Maybe they're by the stools or the dwell meter. Lunchbox area. Down here maybe. No, that's just leaf blowers. Maybe they're over here by the bearing bin. That would make sense. Okay, look, we might have to sky pour this. I can't find nothing. Wait. No, that's for radiators. Lots of speaker wire. Okay, we'll look over here, I guess, by the tire pile. No, paint thinner. Okay, sky pour it is. I wonder how much I'm actually going to get in the engine. Oh, we're doing pretty good. Wow. Okay. I'm liking it. Not bad at all. Now I gotta hang out here. Now we're gonna move on to seeing if this mechanical fuel pump actually works. We'll rig up a temporary fuel systems, you know, NHRA style. No, it's just junk. I missed that one. And then we'll plug it right into the pump there, fire this thing back up, let it succulate on the fuel a little bit, see if that pump's going to pull it. Hopefully so. If not, I don't have one of those particular styles. It's a shallow one because it's sitting right on the cross member. All the ones at the parts stores they want to give you have the big long body on them. So then we might have to rig in a clicky clacky, and it's just going to keep snowballing. Let's be honest. But let's get started. So essentially I'm just going to, we're disregarding this. This goes to the fuel tank that we know is bad. We're going to be plugging a fuel line right into this varnish tube here and see if we can wake this little feller up. But the first thing I'm going to do is spray some carburetor cleaner in here, and that will hopefully swell up the diaphragm and all the seals and doodads in here. So this has a fighting chance, once it gets a taste of fuel, to go ahead and pump that up through this. Ooh, I forgot to get a filter. Darn it. It wasn't even tight. Anyway, is that like 1/4 inch line? It is, that's brake line. It's hard to believe that was actually working. We might just negate all of this because we know we have fresh brand new fuel in a jug, and I forgot to get a filter. Anywho's, so we'll just set that off to the side for now. Put a piece of rubber hose in here. Call that good. So let me get that out. One of the first things we got to do is cut this ridiculous safety lock off. Yes. Yes. Okay. Bring her out. Then switch over to plier mode. Get this junk out of here. There. Now we're free to jam a hose in. Yep. Where did my hose go? It's back here. And I gotta slide a clamp on. So I'm gonna keep all this extra length. I don't want to slice this up. First of all, it's really expensive fuel hose. Second of all, I need the length to get into the passenger seat. I've got this down to a science now. It's about 11 feet for a 50s to 60s Chevrolet to the front seat, mind you. That's what I've got here. So we'll just dip this in a second, but I'm going to slide some hose clamps on first. If I can find where I put them. Hose clamp edge. Take one. Okay, so put this on here. Oh, I guess I do need a little. Maybe I can bend. Yeah, I'll just reuse this little piece here for this chunk I got to replace. Can't believe I forgot the 33003 Wix fuel filter. What in the world? That's what happens when you get in a hurry. Heartburn and heartaches. Well, the guy's out of ops. Unless I make my 39th trip to the parts store, which I really don't want to do because I have 35 hours of brakes to do in the next 17 hours. So we're going to put this 60-year-old fuel filter back in. I did the wind test. It's fine. Amazingly. They just don't make them like they used to. You know what I mean? So this was in here. It must have worked and clearly didn't start a fire. So this is jam it back in. My mistake for ripping it out, I guess. I don't know how one side of this one side of this fuel line is somehow going on 3/8 and the other works good on a quarter. I don't know. We'll just pretend we know what's happening. I don't know. Okay, they don't make necked down fuel line that I'm aware of. Oop. Okay, now. Gasolina. Prime this bad boy a little bit. You want some juice in that. Oh, for heaven's sakes. I've never seen anything like this. There we go. Jam this in here. Bada binged. Now, let's fill the carb bowl again. Oh, almost out. Perfect. So now we're going to be listening for the lifters to come back around and the fuel pump to work. In my rush of things here, I almost forgot to change the oil filter. Oh my goodness. Well, I can't believe it, but I guess I got to. Looking right at it. This is a canister style oil filter. Which sits up here. Wow, that thing smoked on. And it's basically just like, think of it like a cartridge. So instead of replacing the whole canister, you just replace the cartridge inside, which I'm gonna have to pry out of here. Come on now. There, it's wanting to come. I was just about to say, would not be surprised if this was an old AC, and guess what? I'll be dipped. So, I was chatting with Lee before he left. I think, personally, the folks that drove it from Arizona to Connecticut took it to a shop and said, give me the full workup. I got places to be and things to do. Look at that. That is really cool. Old school AC, Type P115 heavy duty oil filter. Why did I take this out without locating my oil pan first? Okay, it's in my armpit. That's great. Wow. What is this? Can't a guy clean his hands anymore? Pete's sake. I don't understand. Oh, Wick says they got us covered on the filter here. I don't think so. Uh-oh. Never see that again. I heard it rolling for 40 years. Okay, this will fit there. But the top clampy doodabber hold downy 7000 is not looking ideal. And I did quite a bit of research on this. And this is what I found. Where did that go? Wow, for heaven's sakes. Help me understand how it could just roll away. Well, here goes another 3 hours. I guess we're gonna put the AC back in because this one doesn't fit and we need to run it. Okay, plan, thanks. Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to reuse you once again. Oh boy, that really filled up. Okay, we got our parts we need. That centers it. And this bad boy goes over top. So it comes out of the front of the block by the timing chain, and then, which would be the top of the oil circuit, and then flows back down through the valley, I believe. And that's kind of the oil path for the filter there. So it starts at top of the filter and then works its way down. Okay, 92% of an oil change done. Let's see if we can get this thing building better pressure and or clearing up the lifters, and more importantly at this point in time, fuel pump working. Check the oil pressure. Now we're up to straight 40 now, so we gain pressure. See, this hose should be jumping from that fuel pump. I kind of feel something. Lifter's still not happy. Starting to feel more of a pulse in the line. Those diaphragms, when they sit this long, they tend to dry out like this, and then they don't want to pump. So sometimes you gotta prime them up and juice them up a little bit. Oh boy, speaking of juice, this thing would look good with shine juice. Before they'll start pumping, so I'm gonna try again to prime it. Get some fluid in it before we go to the clicky clacky. Yeah. Give her another shot here. Come on, buddy. Pump some fuel. Come on, buddy. Pump some fuel. Ooh, I almost dropped that on the blade. Had to panic and flip it back. Come on. Even though the lifters aren't happy, it still runs really good. Come on, pump. Bummer. I don't think I'm gonna find that style mechanical pump. It almost looks like an Edelbrock or something goofy. Well, the guys primed it backwards this time. Let's try this. See what happens. Come on. Really would like this pump to work. Even though we're doing a ghetto gas tank, I'd like to have the right pump on it. Did we get lucky finally? Maybe? We might have got her. Come on. Well, I would have expected those lifters to come around by now. It's getting a little nerve-wracking. Still 40 pounds oil pressure. Temp is about 120. We must have got it. It must be pulling fuel. All right. I'm just going to sit here and let this thing run. Let the rings come back around. Hopefully these lifters will pump up. We got to see what the head gaskets are going to do. Right now we just got fresh oil. We got to look for a milkshake, but we don't want any boys in the yard. You know what I mean? Okay. Sorry about that. Anyway. Hey, it's coming around. Not the lifters, but the idle. They must be pumping fuel. Nice. I don't want to rev it too much with those lifters like that, but it's getting fuel. That's good news. I'm going to open up the door all the way. I don't want to smoke up the house here. And we're going to let this thing just chew a little bit. Well, the guy's been running it for about 10 minutes now, and listen. The lifters ain't knocking anymore. They finally pumped up. It's sounding good. It's really quieting down. The throttle response is getting better. Running about 190 degrees, 40 pounds of oil pressure. Everything is A-okay. Waiting on the thermostat to open. Head gaskets are hanging in there. We don't got any milkshake yet. And we'll do transmission clutch test here, roll through all the gears in a minute. It's a good car. I'm tickle me jealous, okay? It's a good car. Let's go ahead and jump in and roll through some gears before we run out of gas, actually. Okay, let's jump in, roll some gears. We got her just off the ground here, you can see. And see if the clutch works, transmission works. What are we at? Oh, it's a little less than 190. The thermostat must have opened. Oil pressure did drop. Okay, clutch in. First and grind. There we go. Second. Oh yeah. Good. Third. You betcha. Fourth. Yep. Don't have any brakes, we gotta wait a minute. Reverse. It's got all the gears. Wow. The old glass packs sound pretty good. Well, I think this guy is going to go ahead and say it's officially alive. That's my approved stamp. Listen, it starts easy with key. It's got good throttle response, great oil pressure, it's staying cool, it's pumping fuel, it's doing everything that it should do, including charging. It's pretty solid. We got a little bit of a weep out of the water pump, and obviously we have the fuel tank issue, but you guys have seen me throw fuel tanks in the passenger seat 11 cajillion times. So we're gonna say good enough. We need to switch our focus to brakes. It is a labor-intensive, not very fun job, gonna be honest. This car is gonna need everything, and I wanna dig into this and get as much done as humanly possible for Brian. It's a four-wheel drum car, manual brake system. It's just a lot of good stuff. So, does it matter where we start? No. Let's start, I guess we start right here. Why is it? Okay, intermittently locking up, captain side front. Sounds like a plan. Since we're on a lift, I'm gonna bring it up high enough. It's pretty much in my teeth, and a guy can just do all the work right there. We'll move our way around the car. Once I get all the wheels set, I'm gonna try to do soft lines, wheel cylinders, all the hardware that I can, shoes, and I've even got a drum set for this, hopefully the right size. If not, we might have to turn these if it needs it. They sound pretty even as far as the scraping inside of them. And then we'll turn our attention to how many lines did I snap off, all the way up to the master cylinder, and then eventually bleed the system, which I'm assuming is going to be tomorrow because it's already getting, oh wow, yep, it's already getting later in the day. So let's dig in. I need to lower it down enough to, actually he's got a air impact, I think. Did I see that? Got a surprise for you guys when all this goes back together. I asked Brian if he wanted new tires, and of course, we need to do that anyway. Wasn't really an option, but I said, hey, do you want to use the original wheels? Want me to find some hubcaps for you? Or do you want like new wheels? He said, yeah, a set of wheels wouldn't be bad, so I let him pick out a pair and snag that up for him. So we'll be putting those back on once we finish all the brakes. How does this go backwards? Oh. The backwards button. Well, these wheels have been painted 37 times. Man. Well, I believe a guy has the captain side front all done here. Stripped it all down, needled and cleaned the backing plate, prepped it, painted that, even greased it. Up there we've got new shoes in here, new wheel cylinder, cleaned the shuttles, snapped those into place, made sure all the springs were in good shape, lubricated the adjuster wheel, put a new soft rubber line in as well. That hard line is good. Now all I got to do is put the hub back on. grease up the bearings. You don't have to pack these, they're roller ball bearings. Set the preload on them, snap on the new drum. I'll paint that up as well. And then boom, we're gonna have 100% new brake system, other than hardware, which is fine. And then it's just a matter of rinse and repeat. 3 more of these lovely guys to go. Well, there's one side 100% complete and done. Gonna keep the tires and wheels off for now. All goes well, everything bleeds out good. We're gonna be putting the new tires and wheels on that Brian has picked out, and it is going to completely change the look of this car. Now, a lot of you, I hear in comments and meeting you guys in person, just don't like working on drum brakes, period. It's not my favorite either, listen, but don't be afraid to jump in and get after this stuff. They're actually really primitive how they work, and if you just stare at them long enough, you'll be fine. Couple tricks if you're gonna jump into something like this. Take one side tire wheel off in the drum and leave it there. Don't touch it. Try to replace everything on one side, and then if you need a template, go look at the other side and you can see how it's constructed. Or if you've got a digital pocket computer box, take a couple photographs, you know, and then take it apart. You can even go as far as using a paint marker and make all the right springs red and the left ones white, blue, whatever gets the job done, okay? So anyway, we've got this one all taken care of. It's beautiful, everything's adjusted, shoes are adjusted, wheel bearings are adjusted. I'm not gonna bore you guys with the rest of it. I gotta get after it, make up some time. Can't see the clock, but it's late. So I think I'm gonna try to get the drinker side front done tonight, and then tomorrow's my last day here, unfortunately. So that means rears, master cylinder, however many lines I've snapped off, which so far I didn't snap that one off, so that's good news. Ultimately, I would really like to be driving this thing under its own power tomorrow, but let's see. It is getting hot in here, I gotta be honest. All right, more brakes, yay! So this is kind of interesting, and I wanted to share with you because you know a guy is pretty fond of vehicle history. I'd like to know, what kind of life did they have? Where did they come from? What did they do? How did they spend their time? Now over here on this side, in order to get the drum off of the spindle, it had the original rivets through here. And the rivets held the drum to the spindle, and had to air hammer those off, air chisel, and then air hammer the spindle out of the drum essentially. Had to knock a few studs out, pull them back in. It was a nightmare. So this side, I know, was original. It had never been touched. Original drum, original shoes, original wheel cylinder, unless they literally took the whole spindle and drum assembly off to put in just shoes, which, I don't know, maybe. But here's where I'm going. The other side is different. So when I get into this side, first of all, there's a lot more shoe material left, so I know these have been replaced. This is not the original spring hardware. The original is kind of like a clip. It's just a V-shaped clip that presses in here. So this has been changed. Okay, and then if we go over here and look at the actual drum, this isn't normal. I have no idea. These are weights to balance the drum. I haven't seen circular weights. Normally they're just little sticks of weight, kind of like a wheel weight that they weld in where they need it. This is unique, but where I'm going is, look at this. They just stick welded where the rivets used to be. And now it's up to me to figure out how in the devil to get this apart. Well, actually, yeah, see, this drum is actually not bad at all. The other one had a huge lip and crease in it. It does have the original style bearings, but now I got to figure out if I can get, I mean, he's got a ton of air tools. I'll just kind of dig through here and see if I can find a grinder or something. Might have to drill these, but this has been definitely cobbled together. Not necessary. All the 60s, I'd say late 50s, 60s, 70s up, drums float on the spindle because your lug nut actually holds the wheel to the spindle and presses the drum in between. So do yourself a favor and don't do that. If you feel you need to press the two together, go ahead and rivet them. But, which I don't think I think I threw them all away. Oh, here's an old one. So this would have been the back side. But anyway, that's a mess. All right. Well, another late night is upon us. I think I'm going to call it. But we got a lot done today, actually. It runs. It's got oil pressure. It stays cool. The transmission shifts. The rear tires turn when you let the clutch out. I mean, we're getting dangerously close to getting this car back on the road in more than 3 decades. I am really, really excited for this. Brian is so pumped. I can't wait to see him driving this thing. But I'm going to clean up the tools for tonight, organize things tomorrow. We're going to start on the rear brakes. I have not broke a line yet, thankfully. And then we've got master cylinder, bleeding, tires and wheels, any last minute adjustments, things of that nature. But tomorrow is my last day, so I am going to be thrashing like mad to get this thing out of this garage and on the street. Fingers crossed. Okay, I'm going to go get some shut-eye. We'll see you guys in the morning, see what we can do. Well, day 3 is here, the final day. It's the final countdown. Or what, how it went. Oofta. Sorry about that one too. Anyway, Brian was just here. We're planning on going to get some pies later. I guess they call them out here. East Coast pizza is delicious. I think it has ruined me. I can no longer go to Pizza Hut or the Domino's. So I'm going to try to knock these rear brakes out first before lunchtime, and then we've got a master cylinder, and the water pump leak has significantly increased. So Lou is actually on the phone. You know, there's a couple guys around town. He's dialing them up, trying to get a short water pump for us so I can get that thing replaced as well. Brian's super excited. Going to try to get him in the driver's seat today and driving this thing after 35 years. Something like that. He is glowing. Looks like Christmas Eve. Worth mentioning, you may have noticed this rear wheel cylinder is smaller, just in general size. That's because the bore is different. You kind of have to pay attention to that. Most vehicle makes and manufacturers and models have it figured out for proportioning, 70-30, for example, on four-wheel drum. So this would be a smaller bore size, which would affect how much pressure and throw, essentially, in the pedal and how much pressure is being applied to the shoes. So if you have mismatched, you got to fix that. If you put in the wrong size, you could have a twitchy pedal, you could have spongy brakes, you could have extreme pedal travel, all sorts of weird issues, and that's when people usually start putting residual valves and things in line to try to correct the issue, when typically it's just the wrong wheel cylinder. Just some stuff I've seen. I'm just trying to put it into the interwaves. Okay, let's knock this tire off, get to work. Time to dig into the master cylinder here. We just got the line on the bottom that's got to come off, and then this is a 4-bolter right here, one on each side, or 2 on each side, excuse me, and get this thing out. We know this hasn't worked since 1989, 87, something like that, so I'm looking forward to getting brakes fixed. This is the last line I could potentially snap off, so wish me luck. Master cylinder is in. Somehow we didn't break a single line on this entire car, which is great. Fittings are in great shape, lines are in great shape. I did buy a whole line kit for this car just in case. I'm going to leave that here with Brian if he wants to go through it over time and replace them, kind of as a restoration or whatever. Bench bled this bad boy up. It should be in good enough shape to move some juice anyway. Probably just end up gravity bleeding this after I pump some through. I'll just jump in, mash the pedal, fill the single death pot, mash the pedal, fill the single death pot, mash the pedal, and then fill the single death pot here. And then once I feel like I've got fluid pushed through the system, then we'll just start right here. Captain side front, crack the bleeder, should drip off. Let all the air out naturally. While that's happening, I can have another cup of coffee and maybe even start on this water pump. One did show up. And the only struggle there is getting the bolts out for the fan. Hopefully they're not too long. And then I can get this dripping taken care of. Do we got any juice in here? No, a little left. Put this right there. There we go. So we got this one cracked, and that's just going to be dripping into this pan here, gravity bleeding. Gravity always wins, especially when you get older. And then we'll close this one off and move to the next one. Just check the fluid every now and then, and it should just bleed itself. Well, I don't know. Listen, I got first round of the front done. Pedal moves and there's juice flowing. All right, now we're in the back. I'd like to pump the pedal before I move to the next one to bleed, just to try to force the air towards the wheel cylinder if I can. Right now I'm just stripping out the bleeder. Give me a second. Oh, I really am. Okay, let's switch gears here. Okay. Yep. Any juice? Nothing yet. It's okay. Could take a second, you know. All we got is time. No, that's not true. I have a flight to catch. Got the rear here just bleeding off. Looks like that's gonna do it. Just finished actually. So we'll close this and move over to the captain side. Oh, there's a little more air. See that bubble coming out? So we'll wait a couple more minutes, I guess. Well, I believe I have hit all four corners twice. So this should be good. This one's just dripping off here. Gonna close this up. We'll drop it down and check the pedal action. Hopefully it's more gooder than less or not. Oh, look at that. Pedal for days. Yes. That's as good as four-wheel drum's gonna get right there. Nice. So here's a pretty big moment here. Time for tires and wheels since we got the brakes done. Brian wanted to get rid of the old steels and go to something that reminded him of back in the day when he was in high school. Of course, why not? These are legit Krager SS wheels. And then we've got the Cooper Cabras. White letter out, man. You know what I mean? It's the 80s. I think it's going to completely change the look of this car. Solid choice by him. I just had him send me the links of what he was looking for and boop, zipped him up. Had him sent out here. So I'm going to lift this up just a little bit here. Get these thrown on. These are not unilugs. I went ahead and got the nice ones. So these take a bulge conical seat, and the bolt pattern is specific for this particular vehicle. So they're a lot easier to put on and off and things of that nature. The size is the same all the way around, I believe. 235, 60, 15. I worry about getting this into the right rear. The rear end of the frame seems to be tweaked. And the right tire did not want to come out. The old one, the left one fell out. So we might have to get a little, I don't know. We might just close our eyes and get some baseball bats in there or something. But let's get these on before Brian shows up for pies. Gotta have some pies. Yep. And that is a classic look. I like it. We're gonna have to scrub this off, maybe, if we get time. That might be a Brian thing. Hot water usually takes that right off, but I guess this particular tire store did not want to take the 13 seconds to clean them. Got the old school long lugs even. This is why I painted the drums. Give that nice black background or shadow. Yeah. It's nice. Boy, these are going to be pretty wide for the rear. Whoa. Okay, so we got the captain side front on as well. That's looking good. I'll clean these up once we get them torquilized and whatnot. Get the fingerprints off, but it's looking good, looking sharp. Okay, guys, gonna move on to the water pump. And I think we're just gonna pull the radiator at the same time. Just get it all over with. What am I hooked on? I don't know, I'm asking you. What is it? Wow. Help me understand. Well, for heaven's sakes. That was easy. That was real easy. Now I can show you how bad that really is. So this is going to need to be replaced. That is insane. Look at those repairs. That's wild. So we're going to have to fix that. And if you come over here, look at this. Totally shot. That's that growling sound. And also obviously the leak. But you can see how much easier it's going to be getting the fan and the bolts, the water pump out and everything with the radiator out of the way, and we'll put new stuff back in. All right, gonna get the fan out of here now. Maybe. Whew, puppy's loud. Goodness gracious. That's out. Take the adjusting bolt out of the charging whirler. So we can knock that down to get the belt off. Okay, fan. Okay, fan. Okay, the fan. Fan out. The fans should come off. The fan. There's the fan. And then if I pull on that, should be able to walk the belt off. There we go. Pulley. There that is. Now we have our, ooh. Those bearings are El Tosto. Next is the water pump bolts. There's just 4 of them. Good old Chevrolet, you know. Not the whole timing cover or none of that nonsense. Oh boy, that one's on there. There we go. Take this bolt out here. And ka-choo. There comes the WP. All right. This feller has an impressive collection of air tools. Everything you need. So spicy meatball. This one might need, I might need to replace one of the shorter bolts with the longer one. The casting, unless I'm seeing things, might be slightly different. If you don't know the difference between a short water pump and a long water pump, just remember it's Chevrolet, so it's quite literal. This is shorter, it's not longer. You can't fit your fingers between a short pump. On a long pump, you can fit your fingers, well, unless you got big mitts like me. A short water pump, you can fit your fingers between the timing cover and the water pump. Okay, since we got to replace the rad, we're going to do it in fashion. Boom! Look at this thing. All aluminum, big row guy, should be a direct bolt in. I don't know. If it was my car, I'd probably matte black it, but I don't know what Brian wants. He's on a pie hunt right now. So we're just going to jam it in like this, and if he wants to, he could do that down the road. Right? Right. Okay. Oh, please fit. This seems to be doing something-ish. These Tri-5s have a fan or a rad behind the radiator support and in front of it, depending on the day of the week and if it was Bill or Bob that put it in, you know what I mean? It's got dual horns. Huh. That's neat. Now, we just have to get the Ridge hardware to hopefully line up with something on this thing. Is that it? That looks high, doesn't it? Maybe not. I don't know. This was supposed to be a guaranteed direct doodabber, paid through the front and back teeth for this thing, so I really hope it fits. It seems like it's gonna. All right. Let me bolt this up quick. Of course, we're gonna reuse the rotten hoses, because that's all I have. Great. Well, the guys got her put all back together. The rad bolted right in. We got it topped off. And that darn tick is back. That went away yesterday, but it's back. We're gonna let it pump up again. It seems to go away if you let it run for 20, 30 minutes. And that's what we're gonna do. The belt alignment is much better with this new water pump, actually. Laser straight, it's charging, fan looks great. Pretty nice running little engine besides that sticky lifter. That might come out of it again. Still running it off this jug. I'll have to go fill this up and throw it in the passenger seat, because we're gonna go drive this thing here pretty darn soon. Well, the guys got it sitting outside here idling. Man, this thing looks fantastic with the Kragers and white letters on it. It sounds great. It's just sitting here like a sewing machine. Now, let's go see if it drives. We have brakes in the garage theoretically. We have a clutch in the garage theoretically. Oh, let's jam it on the street, see what happens. All right, clutch in, first gear. Here we go. Oh, I love 50s cars. Second. Oh, she's geared pretty short. Sounds good. Third. It's like it was parked a week ago, not 35 years. Good oil pressure, about 180 degrees. Charging. Man. This is a great car. I think we just keep cruising. We got 5 gallons of gas on the floor here. Let's go find something cool. Okay, so we're up at Castle Crag in Hubbard Park. It's beautiful. The drive up here was incredible. I have yet to go up into the castle, but I will take you guys here in a minute. But I followed Brian up here. He's just off camera over here. Brian, what do you think about the 55?
It's fantastic. Derek did a great job. Incredible.
Do you like the tires and wheels you chose?
Better than the 4th of July.
The car drives really good. It's got great brakes. It's having a little bit of oil pressure issues, but Brian's already on it. He says, I got a plan. I got some stuff brewing there. So what's it feel like to have this thing on the road out here after, what, 35 years, 37 years?
35 years. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a dream come true to have you come out and do it, and I'm eternally grateful for you for doing it, and it's just amazing.
Well, I had a really good time with you this week, and the hospitality has been just absolutely incredible. So we got to count pennies. I want to make sure that we give you the whole experience. So the day with Derek, you had $3,000 from me, $2,000 from O'Reilly Auto Parts, and then $1,000 to charity. So let's start at the $3,000 for me. I got on my digital pocket computer. So what we did, I kind of kept track here for us. We had $1,777.51 Summit Racing. That was the dang Krager wheels. Them were only almost $300 a piece. And then we had the aluminum radiator and the lug nuts. $676.34. eBay. Tires. Got to have the Cooper Cabras. It's $753.98. Rock Auto. That was for drums and wheel cylinders and shoes and brake lines and all that other stuff. $157.50 in line too. Those are in the trunk. I did not snap any brake lines, but that is an entire awesome stainless pre-bent kit. And it's a direct fit for the whole car. So that's in the trunk for you. $48.49 again at Rock Auto. I had to panic order a couple carb kits. $21.08 at a service station. I think $1 of that was a candy bar for me. Sorry about that, Brian. $150.16 at a local parts store. We had to get, I can't remember, fuel jug, some other stuff, and about $170 to mount the tires and balance. So we're at $3,755.06. So I'm going to round that down to 3,000 and just don't tell Jessica, and then everything's fine, right?
Perfect.
$600 at O'Reilly I spent on your gift cards, which means you still have $1,400 to O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. And then, last and certainly not least, part of it was we would donate $1,000 to a charity, and he said, hey, when you get here, I want to talk to you about it because it's not a traditional charity, but this is even better. Trooper First Class Aaron Pelletier, did I say that right?
You did, sir.
He was unfortunately a victim of a hit and run while serving, and we lost him May 30th in 2024, and he left behind two beautiful boys and a wife, and it's just super heartbreaking. So what we did was Brian sent me his GoFundMe, and we zipped over $1,000 over to that GoFundMe on behalf of Brian, and I will also be donating myself as well because I just, man, gets you. You know what I mean? But there we go. Day with Derek. Brian, sorry it took so long. Both of our schedules were just crazy, and it was like, I'm free here, I'm not. I'm free here, I'm not. And it was just back and forth, but I'm glad we did it. It's a beautiful car, and thanks for letting me drive it. And I guess that wraps this up. Should we go check this castle out?
I think we should, man.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate you very much. This has been an incredible journey, a ton of fun. Huge thank you to Brian, Lou, Rox for all the help, all the local auto parts stores and service stations, all the food, and everybody around here. Awesome. East Coast is pretty good. I'm going to go check this castle out. See you next Friday.